the current construct of the NYPD in particular is not equipped as of this time to deal at any level in a serious and comprehensive way with the issues and challenges associated with enforcement of laws on a population of individuals who may have a mental disability, psychological disability. You know, terminology is out of date, etc. I mean, right now, the police department, NYPD, you know, we kind of broad brush everybody with this EDP term. That's what it is. So EDP stands for emotionally disturbed person. So that means if you are paranoid, schizophrenic, you have bipolar, if you're having some psychosis brought on by, you know, some chemical infusion into your body, etc. We're all broad-based with EDP. And EDP calls, as is the training in the NYPD, one of the most dangerous calls. That's the training. Domestic violence and these EDP calls are the most dangerous calls. So now you go into your training and practical efforts in your mind saying that this is the most dangerous, this is where you're gonna get hurt, this is where you're gonna get killed. A month and a half ago, I awoke at 5:30 in the morning, looked out of my window, and my car was gone. And I just woke up. As I woke up, I had my white beater on, and some Michael Jordan shorts, boxers, and I jumped out of bed and I slipped in my favorite slippers, which these big, fuzzy Tasmanian devil slippers. I grabbed my firearm. I left my ID that says retired police officer behind. I grabbed my firearm on instinct. I jetted outside. I don't know how many of you had your car stolen, but it feels it's a personal violation, especially for a man. You know, we all got cars. So there I am in Queens on the street in my white beater, my Michael Jordan boxers, and my Tasmanian devil fuzzy slippers, which is about this big, with a pistol in my hand, walking up the block. And was I emotionally disturbed? I was emotionally disturbed. For the image of that, they would have made a snap decision, who is this nut? Had a police officer rolled up on me at that point. You know, just imagine what could have happened. I was emotionally disturbed. That's how dangerous it is when you broad-base these type of, when you put tags on people, because I was an EDP right then and there. I had a gun on top of that. Now, you have to understand the culture of police is very male-dominated. But the male-dominated culture of the police department really forces you, pushes you to the point where everything is hands-on. You understand? So police aren't comfortable with sitting a distance from you and having a long, protracted conversation to analyze the possibilities of it. Police officers respond, they get a breakdown of what was transmitted to them over that radio, and in their mind, if it says EDP, they're thinking danger. Usually they start to put the gloves on. You've seen the gloves come out, because there may be some hand-to-hand that goes on with this. And they're hearing EDP. The questions that are normally asked are, is the person armed? Does the person have a psychological history? Is he a threat to himself or other people? Where is he in the house? Leave the door open because the police will be there, etc. So it's setting the stage, when you think about it, for disastrous consequence. It happened not too long ago in Brooklyn and Kyle Coppin, where you have even the protocol that the police department has in place for dealing with emotionally disturbed persons. It's oftentimes violated. There are total breakdowns, even of the protections that they have on paper. And in my experience with the police department, the paper really don't mean anything. It's what happens out in the street that really means something. So that's the male-dominated culture of the police department makes it that much more difficult for just the average police officer to go and make it an honest assessment. We shouldn't expect that, because police now, in this culture, in this age, it's about enforcement, not assistance and help. The first line of one of the documents from the police department's patrol guide is to, serve and protect. That's the #1 obligation, to protect human life. But in the culture we have right now, the police department, governmental administration, it really is about enforcement. So it's not unlikely that an emotionally disturbed person will soon become a perpetrator, a defendant, because oftentimes police officers will overreact or react wrongly, you know, will put themselves in a position. And I'll close with this. And I know this as a personal story that I had when I worked in the streets of Harlem. I had walked the beat on 123rd Street and 7th Avenue, and that was the time when angel dust was really big, really, really big. And I knew everybody in the block because that was my regular post, and there was this young lady who I spoke to on a regular basis. Almost every day we talked about everything, politics, sports, everything. But one day there came a call over, EDP in the building, dusted. You know, somebody spoke angel dust. I get there, that's the young lady. Now I have all my partners around. At that time we had a little billy club that was all rubberized. It was black, about this big. That thing could hurt. But that was a common tool in dealing with EDPs at that time. And there were all my colleagues at the bottom of the stairs, shouting and yelling, beginning to creep up to that young lady who I knew. I said, wait fellas, wait a second. I know her. I know her. Shut up. I pushed them all back and I began to go up to the stairs. And she was telling me, Claxton, get back. Leave me alone, Claxton. Leave me alone. I was like, what's wrong? Monique, what's wrong? What's wrong with you? And I just ignored signs. Well, I didn't ignore them. I wasn't trained to identify, you know, the signs themselves. So I proceeded normally. I went up to Monique, and Monique, who was about 100 pounds soaking wet, grabbed me and threw me over the banister. So now I'm on the banister. My partners and colleagues rush up, and they now are real physical with Monique. She's now under arrest for assault of a police officer, etc. And I'm off to the hospital where I stayed for a couple of days. But that could have been avoided had I had the training and the knowledge and the understanding or access to resources to call and say, the EDP, if you want to call them that. Can you send the crisis intervention team here? And that crisis intervention team can have in it or be led by other professionals. Cops ain't psychologists, ain't psychiatrists, not medical doctors. And in this day and age, they're not even good social workers. There should be time we say we did social work, but that's not the case right now. So if there's a population that needs assistance, and if there's a service that needs to be given, the police department, regardless of what their political problems are with establishing a common sense thing like the CIT, they need to establish that. It's vitally important and it would save lives. Thank you.